After this missile authorization, geography of where Russia can strike, we will give it from the beginning and we will give it with the sound. So let's stop right now, please, and let's start over. And the second one is what you can use. What can we do? Yes, now, please bring in Poseidon. 25th place, Russian state television. At an analysis. Let's turn up the volume, please.
This is Russia's unmanned underwater robot called Poseidon. It approaches its target from a depth of 1 kilometer at a speed of 200 kilometers per hour. There is no way to stop this underwater drone. Its warhead can be up to 100 megatons. The detonation of this thermonuclear torpedo near the British coast would generate a massive tsunami wave up to 500 meters high. Such a wave would also carry an overdose of radiation. After passing through the British Isles, it would turn everything that remains into a radioactive desert uninhabitable for a long time.
Now, from now on, let's keep this image flowing. I mean, we can give you the music and everything. This shows what Poseidon can do. I mean, it's one of the apparatus that we can use. I mean, it's one of the munitions that we can use. And the analysis ends like this. We hope that there will not be any development that will trigger this. Poseidon is probably a weapon of the apocalypse,
English.
Right? 500 meters. It's a disaster. I mean, he's already doing it like this. You know, his animations are very famous. Russian state television made an animation for Satan II Sarmat before. When Satan struck with 2, England was wiped off the map. Yes, that one. And this one, which is 500 meters long, is saying goodbye to England. Now, okay, it shows this and it says, we wish it didn't happen. Another analysis has been published. Where can we hit? You know, what can we hit? And where can we hit? Where can we hit those friends upstairs in a total of 10 European countries? Provided that US bases are named. The map has been published. So right now, Putin's analysis of where in Europe I will hit if you push me harder.
Let's watch that, please.
One above, friends.
If the White House's short press release comes true, it is not hard to guess the geography of the response. All European capitals are under threat. If our missiles are ready to be fired in Kaliningrad, Berlin, Warsaw, all the Baltic states, Paris, Bucharest, Pirot, and of course the American bases in Germany, Garmisch, Partenkirchen, Pech Barracks, Spangdahlem and Ramstein will be threatened. We will pay special attention to our traditional enemy, Britain, because a significant part of the Northern Fleet will be operating against it. However, Washington is threatening not only London, but also Manchester, Birmingham, and the largest naval base in Devonport, Clitty in Scotland, and Shinners Harbour in Kent, where the naval shipyard is located, with missile strikes.
Subtitle.
When England is at its most vulnerable, in fact, only 3 missiles are enough to bring down this civilization.
What are you saying, Mr. Dennis? I think these are very important.
We said something like, I was going to say, don't say this anywhere else. Like, of course, this is even a political communication, but at the same time, Russia, you know, we were talking a moment ago when it was expressed whether the Biden administration provided an opportunity in this sense, whether it was a projection of this. Now, I watched this animation too. When I watched it, especially the countries shown in red are interesting, including the UK, Germany, France, Poland, already Eastern European countries. You know how much of a threat perception there is and what we put forward in the Baltic countries.
TechTech says that by giving all the bases, blah, 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 I'll throw it over there.
Sure, just in case you know, there's that too.
Well, of course, you took Finland and Sweden. Did it do you much good? I'm going to throw them out of here.
And it is very interesting
like
now.
that.
It almost reveals it. Mio, in this Alexander Dugin's Eurasian strategy, we always think of the Asian steppes, whereas he was pointing to France and Germany. He was expressing such a Eurasia. It may be utopian, it may be otherwise, but today he had a tweet. Dugin, he says, them liberal fascists, they say liberal fascists, says the illiberal anti-fascist, characterizes it that way, which is, of course, very ideologically. It can be expressed, it can be discussed, and it is interesting. Dugin constantly supports Trump, if you pay attention, how good Trump is. It is also interesting. Why did he take such an open stance on Trump? Of course, he does not represent Putin, but Dugin is an important name, and the fact that he expresses this is something that should be underlined. Now, here's the thing. Biden is actually on the ground that I expressed in the first round. You know, you just shared Trump's speech, where he talked about globalists, we talked about consolidation, when we put this forward a moment ago. In fact, take the Biden era, the wars coincided with his era, it just so happened. Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Israel's genocide in Gaza.
Look, God willing.
Lebanon, I mean, it's a really interesting coincidence. Syria keeps hitting it. Now, when we evaluate all this, we are faced with a global mind that actually encourages wars even more. But interestingly here, there is a difference between Trump and Putin. There are many differences. Trump, he is trying to make the Chinese threat more prominent. Namely, when we look at it in this sense...
My teacher also said that when we just gave it to you, I only pulled the headlines about Russia, but these neocons, these globalists, he says by creating ghosts, monsters, China, Russia, etc., outside, beyond our borders. So it's all illusion.
If we say that
He
now...
says it's not a Trump thing anymore.
Look at it this way. There is actually a proxy war going on here that Biden is continuing or supporting in terms of Ukraine. But interestingly, where the Trump effect has manifested itself is in the German government. Collapsed. Now they're picking and choosing. I do not believe that Zelensky will remain in power in 2025. I mean, I don't think Zelensky is going to be popular in Ukraine for much longer, whether it will be after the inauguration or at some other time. Because Zelensky, see, self-defense is a separate issue. That too is all your idea anyway. But this is a proxy war. What Trump said is true in that sense. And just for the sake of his own, he is throwing Ukraine into the fire. This is an interesting topic, in fact, and it is worth dwelling on it in particular. On the other hand, Biden, period after the Scandinavian expansion, since the Madrid summit at 2022 Madrid, invited to NATO summits. South Korea, when we were thinking about Japan, Australia, New Zealand, we were saying that if the founding treaty of NATO changes in the future, that this would mean the development of a Pacific, which would transform NATO from a classical defensive organization into a strategic offensive organization. Here's the thing. Back to Europe. When Trump was sworn in on January 20, 2025, what kind of will find the world in his arms? Namely, in this sense, Putin is really what he claims. If he uses nuclear weapons, it's very hard to come back from this. But in this sense, I listened to Lavrov's speech in Brazil. And he said, we said nuclear. He said that we express it as deterrence. In other words, we do not have an obsession or priority such as using nuclear weapons. And I agree with my commander Shala there. In other words, such as using nuclear weapons. There is no winner in a nuclear war anyway, in this sense. But he said that it has come to this, actually, to express it a little bit. 19, can you open Volo? Let me summarize a little bit. I've come this far. This will not go unanswered. But in this sense, let me say my last sentence. Ukraine after January 2025, a peace in which he would give up Donetsk, Luhansk, and Crimea. I think Zelensky will also leave power if he prepares to leave. Well, it is rumored that Zelensky will go to England.
Yes.
That's right, England actually, yes. He can make a good host.
Russian intelligence has already suspended the presidential election, and the first thing Trump will do when he arrives is a presidential election. According to the Constitution, he said he was not our interlocutor. Anyway, the Russian leader says that since Putin did not hold the election on time, presidential and parliamentary elections will be held